Hi everybody, welcome to our presentation today. We're so glad everybody could join us. We're going to go ahead and dive in and get started and talk about all the great updates, changes, and enhancements of Pelotonia this year. So we'll start with who's on the line. This is Jill that you're hearing from. I was the one who emailed all of you. I'm our new writer recruitment coordinator. I'll be working with Susie this year on anything that you need. Sorry, Susie will be back in March, so I know everybody's really missing her. She'll be back soon. Today you'll also be hearing from Doug, our President and CEO, Cole, our VP of Strategy and Partnership, and Kelly, our Chief Operating Officer. They'll all be at different points throughout the presentation and answering your questions at the end. So just to walk through the agenda for today's call, we're going to start with just a little background behind why we wanted to make these changes this year, why we're so excited about them, and it's a great path for our organization to be on, and then beyond where we're going to go in the future. The new routes that we have this year, if you read through the FAQs, you saw that we have a couple changes this year, the thought process behind those. The fundraising commitments, again, as many of you saw, those have increased a bit this year. We'll talk through all of those and why they are at the levels that they are. Your resources, we want to provide you with all the resources that we possibly can to make fundraising that much easier. So we're going to talk through those and make sure you know what's coming this year. And then most importantly, answering your questions. Hopefully everybody has their dashboard up where they will see the little chat icon. Look down at the bottom, it should be the last drop down. Type in your questions, send questions to staff. They'll be broadcasted just to our team, not to the public. We would prefer that you do that. And then we will answer them at the end on a rolling basis. If for some reason you're having problems with the dashboard, feel free to email your questions to my email that's listed below. And then I also want to call out the list of FAQs that I sent you in our email last week. If you want to have that handy, the little drop down right above chat where it says handouts, you'll be able to download it there. So now we're going to hear from our CEO, Doug, on the changes for this year and why we're so excited.
Great. Well, thanks, Jill, and thanks to everybody for joining this morning. We obviously are trying something new this year with this webinar, and want to just reiterate our gratitude and appreciation to all of our captains who really make Pelotonia successful in so many ways. So you are so valuable as leaders in this movement, and we wanted to make sure you had the time to, excuse me, both digest these changes and, excuse me, and also discuss them with our team and ask any questions you might have, because we know you're on the front lines and we know you're hearing from your Peloton participants and fundraisers. So with that, I also want to just thank our team, because as you might imagine, when we started to think about some of the changes for 2016, this was months ago, and it took literally weeks and months of data analysis and discussion and review in an effort to really strike a balance between making sure that Pelotonia is always accessible to as many people as possible, and also is always striving for our shared one goal. And the way I like to think about decisions that we make as a team with our board and with our community partners and our funding partners is, how can we have the biggest impact on the cancer burden? How can we propel ourselves further towards our one goal? And I think as we go through the discussion today, you'll see that these decisions and these slight modifications for 2016 were really all made with that premise in mind. How can we have a bigger impact on the cancer burden? Because at the end of the day, due to the generosity of our funding partners, we are so fortunate that every single dollar is able to be invested in cutting-edge, high-risk, high-reward cancer research. So it is that balance between inclusion and accessibility, and also how are we driving an even bigger impact on the disease that we're here to eradicate and hopefully end in our lifetime. So I want to thank, again, all of you. I want to thank our team. And I want to just mention a few things that I think are important in terms of where we're headed and the future of Pelotonia. You know, with some of these changes and some of these increased levels of fundraising, we felt that it was really important to focus on how can we make it easier for people to raise money. And you'll hear a little bit more about that as we go forward in this call. But one of the things we're really spending a lot of time working on is our sort of technology platform and how we can literally make it easier for all of you and all of the riders and participants to not only raise more money but really raise it more efficiently. We think there's a lot of opportunity on the technology side, and we'll be rolling out some of those things later this year. The other thing is just continuing to over-communicate and really have our captains serve as the leaders in the community, because we rely so heavily on your time and energy, and we're so eternally grateful for the role that you play and the time and energy that you put into this. So we want this to be an ongoing discussion and an ongoing dialogue, because we really value not only your role but your input and your leadership. So you know, we've got big plans, big ambitious plans, and as we continue to work with our partners at the James, we just see such promise in the work that's going on there. And it's literally, you know, almost every day we feel like we have this unique view and this unique window into the impact that you all are enabling. And so it's with that in mind that we made most of these changes, because again, for us, it's a matter of how can we have the biggest impact on the disease. And when you sit and listen to the researchers, which many of you have done over the years, you hear their passion and their excitement and their desire to pursue ideas that otherwise wouldn't come to fruition. And so we're just so fortunate to be in a position with the Pelotonia movement and the Pelotonia community that we're able to invest such significant resources in this life-saving research. And I think our goal, quite simply, is to be able to do more and more of that in the future. So I'm going to stop my comments here and let my colleagues sort of go into more specifics about the changes, and then frankly, we're all excited for the discussion part of the call and to answer any questions that all of you might have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly to talk through some of the specifics on the fundraising changes, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, thanks, Doug. So hello to everyone, and many of you who I have known quite some time now. I know that you know, the great thing about Pelotonia is that we've always been able to take what has been an amazingly impactful platform already and figure out how to continue to adapt and be versatile so that we can have the most impact that we can possibly have. And so, you know, certainly to Doug's point, we didn't take any of these changes lightly, but we did know that, you know, it has always been our mantra here at Pelotonia to stay on the edge of what we can do to end cancer. And I think certainly it's been a great week for cancer and a bad week for a lot of people over, you know, that have lost their lives recently. And it just reminded me that even after being here as long as I have been, how absolutely poignant our work is. So we took on these challenges. We, you know, in addition to obviously raising the fundraising commitments in each area, which is something that we have always, frankly, it's been our goal to be able to raise fundraising. It means that our riders are good at what they do and getting better every day. It means that our ridership is growing, that people are reaching out to the families and friends that they know all across the country to fundraise. This isn't about fundraising within the four walls of Columbus. This is about, as to Doug's point, this is a movement that fundraises all across the country and frankly internationally to raise money. So we, you know, in addition to those tweaks on all the different routes, you will see that there are some changes to the specific routes that we have. And I think that probably the biggest change that everyone would notice is that there is not a 75-mile route for Pelotonia 16. To be honest, that was a tough decision for all of us because we never like to take away if we don't have to. But that said, there was only about 3% of our riders that were choosing that route. And we think that in many cases that had something to do with the starts and how busy our starts are. We've done a lot of work to improve those starts over the last couple of years. I would say that is going very well. People understanding our staging, being able to change the times and stagger our starts, and the police presence throughout the route. So with only 3% of the riders choosing 75, we know there are some who are super disappointed not to have that option to start at 75. But we hope that everyone will be inspired and excited about potentially either then trying our new 50-mile route, or just going back to 100, which is where they may have been in the past, but for that start issue that we think has gotten so much better over the years. So we will miss the 75, but the good news is we have a new 50. The 50-mile route is being added. It will start in New Albany. We quite frankly don't know exactly. We haven't quite hammered out all the details of where the start will be, but we think you can imagine the general area where that start will be. It will be on the route. We're not looking to start, you're still working within the framework of the Pelotonia route that works so well for so many. But the reason we thought it would be a great time to start in New Albany is because we know we have some amazing experiences on the latter half of the route that many people haven't been able to experience yet. We get questions all the time. Obviously, many people know the Granville community has gotten behind Pelotonia in full force. It's practically a holiday in Granville when Pelotonia comes through, and we love every minute of being that parade for those wonderful hundreds of people who come out to support. And many people have said to us, can you put a finish in Granville? And the long and short of it is that would be tough. But we can put a start near Granville, which would allow people to then experience Granville. We also know that the current 50-mile route is one of our most popular routes, if not the most popular route. And we know that distance is fun for people, but it also may be a good time for people to try a different 50, especially if they've gotten to be fairly experienced riders and maybe looking for a little more of a challenge. Certainly the second half of the route has a few more rolls to it and hills, all very accessible with training. And for those of you or your riders who have been doing the original 50, this could be a very nice challenge for them as well. And of course, everything at Pelotonia is experience-based. So it ends at Kenyon, which is a very different finish than the current 50-mile finish. That finish obviously includes our road warriors of sorts, our 100 and 180-mile riders, and they carry with them a special spirit that we think is wonderful for everyone to be able to experience. So that leads to why there's a different fundraising commitment for the second 50 instead of the first 50, and that's because, as I said, everything at Pelotonia is experience-based. And we really do hope that in each of the experiences, as you commit to more to riding harder or farther and choosing some of the challenges around the route, we also want you to choose that goes hand in hand with a fundraising challenge. And so doing the second 50, there is a little bit more challenge to that ride, a little higher fundraising commitment that we think is well rewarded with the experience of going through some of the special things on the second part of the route. So we hope you won't think it's a major difference, but we do think it's a warranted difference based upon the difference in experience that those riders will have. And we hope that all of you will open your minds to maybe giving that one a try, because we think it's going to be a really special addition to what Pelotonia has been doing. Then you will see that there is a 130-mile route. That is because just as when we had a 75-mile start, when we have now a 50-mile start in New Albany, we still want to invite riders who have gotten to Kenyon to stay over and come back with us the second day. Much like being in the community that ends at Kenyon, I can tell you that my favorite part of Pelotonia weekend is the 180-mile start on Sunday morning, because the group who stays with us for basically 2.5 days straight, I think it's a very special experience. And so we'd like to invite all those people who come to Kenyon to get on their bikes and come back with us on Sunday. That additional 80 miles on Sunday, in addition to the 50 that they would do on Saturday, makes it the 130-mile route. you will see that the fundraising for the 130 and the 180, which remains the same, are the same. That's because we do feel like that experience on the 80 miles is the same. So going back to my point that everything is experience-based, we felt like there wasn't a need to change the fundraising. And quite frankly, we'd love for more people to give that second day a try, because there's many people who come to Kenyon and stop, and we hope that leaving the fundraising the same will inspire many of you to give that second day a try. High Roller, as you well know, has, is a very special place to be in Pelotonia, and we continue to grow and enhance that experience. So hand in hand with growing and expanding that experience, we go back to, again, looking for an increased commitment for high rollers. Again, we don't think, given what high rollers currently raise, we do not think this is at all something that high rollers will be impeded by. Many of our high rollers already set a goal like this to begin with, because 5,000 is such a nice round number. And so, some of the things that we already do for high rollers, the recognition throughout the website, having special jerseys that highlight that. We do have the different check-in lines and the different, try to have things that expedite high rollers experience. We're very proud of how efficient we are, but we try to make it even more efficient for high rollers. We try to have, different accommodations for those riders who stay, or, enhance the best accommodations we can have for those riders when they stay overnight. And we are currently will continue to work on various VIP experiences at the check party and other ways they can be involved with our grant review process, and various. We think that those really opportunities are only growing for what we can do with the high roller community, and if we continue to enhance that experience, we also wanted to enhance the fundraising to what we believe is a very reasonable, achievable place for most of the high rollers we have, and those who are aspiring to be in that place. So yes, we are still working on it, and it will only get better with time, as you can imagine. I hope based upon your experience with Pelotonia thus far. The final change that I would discuss is virtual riders. So there's obviously no route attached to virtual riders. However, we did realize that, as you know, our worst scenario is that all of our riders pay for themselves. That's never been the basis of Pelotonia. We want people to go out and fundraise, share our message, share their passion, and really that's why we've become, we think, so impactful over the years. So we thought that it is a very nice and a proper change to have virtual riders actually participate in fundraising as well, instead of just making a donation where they're essentially paying for their own participation. Many of our virtual riders have not taken advantage of their opportunity to fundraise, and we would like them to. We believe the people who have the best experience in Pelotonia are those who fundraise. So we have set what I think to be a very extremely reasonable fundraising goal of $100. There is no mandatory registration fee to be a virtual rider. There is no mandatory donation to be a virtual rider. They do, however, will accept a commitment of $100, and will put down a credit card if they can't reach that fundraising minimum, but we certainly hope that most of them will find that based on experience that's a very easy commitment to reach. So the last thing I would say is that there will be some changes. There will be one extra bump in the registration fee this year for those people who do like to procrastinate to the last minute. We will the $100 registration fee will stay in place for quite some time until the late spring, early summer. We don't have a date certain yet, but my guess would be sometime in the early June timeframe. We will bump that up to the $150 registration fee, and then 30 days before the event this year, we will bump it up to $200. We feel like people really need to get in there and start fundraising a little earlier, and also it's great for our planning side of things to know exactly how many people are going to register. So when we can get up and ahead of that, with people registering just a tidge earlier, maybe to get a lower registration fee, we would really welcome that. So that's a slight change, and hopefully nothing that's worrisome to you, because I know all of you are already going to be in. So just share the info with your team.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kelly. Just a reminder that you can submit your questions at any time during the presentation. It doesn't have to be whenever we actually open it up for questions. So if anything has come to mind as of yet, please just submit it and we'll have those in the queue. And now we will switch to Michael to hear about some of the great resources that we have.
Thanks, Jill, and thanks to all of you for joining today. We really appreciate your time and continued commitment to Pelotonia. For those of you I have not met yet, I hope to have a chance to in the near future, but I joined the team about 10 months ago, relocated here to Columbus from Austin, and one of the reasons I chose to make the move is I was so inspired and impressed by the fundraising capabilities and commitments of this community. Are simply astounding and something that I really just wanted to be a part of. And I think as we've kind of alluded to, one of the cornerstones of the Pelotonia social movement is that everyone, we believe that everyone has the skills and the abilities and the responsibility to be an active fundraiser. There really are no bystanders in the Pelotonia community. And so we really want to help you increase that and really engage people as much as possible. And so while we've been blown away by your results thus far, we really believe that we can rise to these new challenges that we've outlined today. And really have every confidence that you and your Pelotons can take on these new fundraising commitments that we've outlined and really exceed them in 2016. But that said, we do understand that people who are new to fundraising sometimes can be a little intimidated by it. It can be a little challenging if you haven't made asks to your communities in the past. And so we've really been focused internally on how can we develop more tools and strategies to really support fundraising for new riders and people who've been with us for a while who just want to increase their capabilities over time. And so there are sort of 4 things that we've decided to focus on to really support this effort moving forward. One is that we added a new director of fundraising position and hired a wonderful young woman named Stephanie Smalucha, who started in Q4 of last year. And she's been tasked with really creating new strategy and structure within our fundraising platform and has really been actively working with our team to roll out a bunch of new things. And that includes a new fundraising toolkit that we'll be rolling out in February that I think all of you would be really excited to see. It's basically, we've worked with a lot of our top fundraisers in the community to identify how they've been successful and kind of what they do to really bring in the results that they've achieved over time. And so this toolkit will include templates on how to communicate why you're doing the ride and inspire people to give. It'll include timelines that sort of give advice as to when you should ask people for donations, how quickly you should follow up, how quickly you should send stewardship things afterwards and things like that. And then also examples of small grassroots fundraisers and other mechanisms for bringing in funds. So this toolkit we think will be sort of a one-stop shop of a lot of different resources that we think will be helpful to you and to your Pelotons. And as I mentioned, that'll get rolled out sometime in February and be available, excuse me, through our website and also as people sign up for the ride. Another thing we'll be doing in 2016 is offering some fundraising workshops in 2 different formats, probably a webinar similar to what we're doing today for people who are busy and want to connect virtually over the phone and online, and also some in-person workshops that we'll be offering in 2016 where we'll bring people together and share questions and experiences and really try and increase the comfort level of all fundraisers within the Pelotonia community. And finally, I just wanted to remind you that there are lots of great information in our FAQ section of the website. That's a section that we're constantly working to update and add new information to, but really gives a great overview of how to be engaged with fundraising in Pelotonia and reminding people of all the resources that are out there. So it would be great if you could remind your Pelotons that they should check the website for those FAQs and give them a preview of some of these new things that we'll be rolling out this year. And with that, I will turn it over back to Jill.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Michael. All right, we will switch over to questions now. Again, this is how we will be accepting your questions through the chat tab. Always send questions to staff. We have a few that came in already. So the first one, what will the date cutoff be to switch routes?
So the date is the same to switch your route, hence switching your commitment. It's 30 days before the ride starts. So I don't want to. It's July. Let's see if the ride next year is the 5th through the 7th, so it's July 6th. If you ever have any questions, all of the dates are reiterated in the fundraising agreement. over and over again so that you can see them in all the different scenarios you may be thinking about. And that fundraising agreement does get attached to your, I think it's visible from your profile page even after you register. So if after you registered, it's clicked yes, you need to go back and look at it. It is available from your profile. So, and of course, it will be in the FAQs as well. And you can always bump up fundraising. So if things have gone really well, that never goes off. But it is 30 days out that you can no longer reduce your commitment.
Great. And moving on to our next question. If Peloton captains are volunteers, how can we get the Peloton reactivated earlier than when volunteer registration opens? That's a good question. You can work with me to temporarily assign someone else as a Peloton captain who would have registration open to them tomorrow as a virtual rider or a volunteer. Of course, you could sign up as a virtual rider and then switch your commitment to volunteer. It's up to you, but feel free to email me privately and we can work together on that one. Okay, next question is on fund sharing. This is a good one. So we offered a fund sharing pilot program to some of the Pelotons last year in an effort to decrease fund sharing. That's definitely something that we're focusing on again this year. Will there be a program put in place this year for all participants in Pelotonia on fund sharing? Just a little background on that. You'll hear from Michael on that.
So yeah, in 2015, Susie worked closely with several Pelotons to do some experiments with decreasing the amount of fund sharing happening because unfortunately when funds are shared, it decreases the overall fundraising results of the Peloton community and minimizes the amount of money that's going to cancer research at Ohio State. And we had a lot of success with that program and really believe that there are good opportunities to decrease fund sharing over time. That said, we're not going to be rolling out any official changes or programs in 2016 because we didn't want to overload the community given that we're already making changes to the routes and fundraising commitments. So instead, in 2016, we're going to be focused on education through that fundraising toolkit and blog posts and some other means to really help people to understand the impact of fund sharing, how much of it is happening, and how we can try to reduce it over time. And then we'll look in the future to see if we should implement some of the more permanent changes to the program to make changes to fund sharing moving forward.
And last year we had an overwhelming, positive response from everybody who did participate in that, and as well as the responses from their Peloton members. That just goes back to us wanting to educate everybody better on, what that impact of fund sharing looks like. And we certainly do encourage fund sharing for group fundraising. That's why we put it in place, because we know that sometimes 20 people work together on an amazing event, and they just, want to break that up so everybody gets a donation from it. So we definitely encourage that. We just want to educate everybody on, best practices for that. The next question that I'll go to, do you have to pay the $100 commitment when you sign up to be a virtual rider? No, you do not. That is just what it sounds like, a commitment. So it works no differently than the riders. You'll put your credit card information down. You'll be charged the same day that riders will be charged if you do not meet that $100 commitment. But whereas last year, virtual riders made a $10 donation whenever they signed up, that is not the case. There's no donation or any monetary commitment as soon as you sign up. Again, keep sharing your questions. We want to get through everybody's. Next one. Okay. Can commitments be switched up or down prior to the cutoff date?
Yes. You have full ability from the moment you sign up until that July 6th, 30 days event to reduce your route or to switch from a rider to a virtual rider. So if you decide to register early and try to fundraise and see how it goes, you have, really that's the best case scenario, is to register early and give yourself as much time as possible to fundraise. Very rarely do we see that people don't hit their commitment as of the 30 days before the ride, but that if you do decide that for some reason you just do not want to remain with your commitment, then you have the choice to go in and either, but it can happen at any time. It could happen the day after you register. You could decide that you want to go in and reduce your commitment, or you could do it the day before the deadline. but and any time in between, and you can go back and forth. We don't recommend it only because it's just a lot of trouble for you, and quite frankly, sometimes just trying to fundraise before you can guess what your route will be is the best way to do it. You'll get a lot more confident about your choices once you've sent that email and seen the responses come in. So, but yes, you are free to do it. The only time that you can no longer change to reduce your commitment or go over to being a virtual rider is after the 30-day deadline. However, you can still increase after the 30-day deadline. We never stop people from increasing their commitment.
We've gotten a few questions about volunteer registration. Yes, it will happen as it has in years past, sometime in early April. We don't have an exact date for you right now, but look out for announcements on our website and social media and all that good stuff for the opening of volunteer registration. Another question about making an announcement to our community on these changes. Yes, tomorrow when our website launches, if you've tried to get on our website in the past few months, you may have noticed that it's limited into what you can see because we're updating everything on the back end. So there's banners that switch out on the website. The first thing that you see, one of the very first ones that comes up will be a note from our CEO reiterating some of the points that he spoke about today, why we're so excited about it. And then another one will be the same list of FAQs that all of you received before everyone else. So, we'll be pushing that out through social, and it'll be right there when you visit the website. So everybody else will be finding out about tomorrow. But of course, we encourage that you share this with your Peloton members now. No need to hold that information until tomorrow. Not a secret, and we want everybody to know. What is the date of the check presentation for next year? We love that you're so excited about that already. Unfortunately, we don't have a date set yet, but no, it will be really exciting. It'll be sometime in November. What time do we think the new 50-mile route will start? We are unsure of the timing on that. I'll let Kelly speak to that a little more.
Yeah, so the way, as many of you know, if you experience the downtown starts, the route, the ride, the 100 and 180s will still leave at promptly at 7 a.m. pretty much. Right? We just want to make sure they have daybreak. And then our goal is to get everybody, what we will need to figure out is we want to make sure that we don't have people bunch up on the route in an unsafe manner based upon what their average speeds are. So my guess is that start at the new 50 will be somewhere in that 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock time frame. I can't see, varying much outside that because we want to keep the same police windows available to everyone. And so it's just a matter of tweaking, not having bunching up on the route. So we'll keep you posted, but really anyone planning to do that second 50 miles should not plan to start much earlier or much later than any of the other starts they would have previously done, even if it was the 75. So we will definitely get that information out as soon as we have finally, worked out all the details on that location, and we will post it and publicize the time of the start along with that information.
Great. And Kelly, we got a fun one for you.
Okay.
Someone's asking if you will come sing Dave Matthews songs at their annual karaoke fundraiser.
Is there beer? I'm a terrible singer, but I would never turn that down. So yeah, tell me what song to start practicing, and I'll be.
Awesome. Thanks for that. If you have any fun ones, feel free to bring those along. A few questions for our resource kit for fundraising. Yes, we will have that available as a PDF, and you can absolutely break that up and share with your team. That's going to be made available to the whole community. We will also, and I'm very curious to hear everybody's feedback on the webinar format. Following this, please send me any feedback that you have or questions or things that you'd like improved. We're definitely going to be doing more of these for the toolkit and for different communication pushes throughout the year. Let's see. Will you have a new Pelotonia, specifically what the event is all about, James and the team and the results for education presentations to employees?
So I've got a couple things to share about that. One, when you see the website that will be launched at midnight tonight, you'll see that there's a new impact page that we've been developing that's got really interactive content. It's got videos and blog posts and news headlines to really do a better job of communicating the impact of Pelotonia raised funds. So I think that that'll be a great resource for you and your Pelotons moving forward. One of the other things that Stephanie Smalucha, our Director of Fundraising, is going to be focused on this year is developing some content to be used for stewardship. So developing either infographics or videos or text that we can suggest that you pass out to your donors so that as people make donations to your campaign, you're armed with resources to really show them the impact that they're having and encourage them to be involved year over year. So those are kind of some of the initial ways that we're really working to increase communication of the impact of Pelotonia raised funds.
Great. Another great question that just rolled in, will our website allow riders to increase their goal on their page to a custom number above their minimum commitment? The answer is yes, absolutely, and we hope that everybody does that. In our website, that'll be called your stretch goal. So, you know, the more the merrier. Everybody put in your stretch goals, and we're hoping to see a lot of those.
Yeah, just on that point, the one thing that we will need help educating people about is that it will still show what their commitment was. Then for those who we're excited to hear would be interested to set a stretch goal, because we know one of the things we heard was that people don't want their donors who may have delayed in making donations to come to their page and decide they don't need to donate because they think that you're done. When you add in a stretch goal, it will say that you have that stretch goal, and the bar on your page will not be full as long as your stretch goal has not been met. So it's going to be really great functionality, and we really hope, we're excited to hear some people may be ready to try it.
Great. Another question that I love to hear, is it possible to have a Pelotonia leader conduct a fundraising workshop at our workplace? Absolutely. We offer, you know, someone from our team to come to any business or community organization or whatever meeting it is that you're having for a recruitment session. We are happy to, you know, kind of have that be recruitment and fundraising if that's something that works best for you. We'll make sure to, you know, bring all those tools and, you know, have the information prepared on that, and we would love to be doing that in 2016. So if maybe your company has had a registration session every year, or a recruitment session rather, and you know you feel like you've heard the same information over and over again, invite us back for a fundraising session. That would be great. Okay, we have got a question about roughly what percentage donated the minimum $10 last year out of the virtual riders that we had, and I can go ahead and give that one to Kelly.
You know, we can get you that percentage. What I can say is that it's a pretty high number. And I don't have the exact number in front of me, but, and of course, the person most knowledgeable about this is our beloved Susie, who has a couple of new little riders she needs to manage right now. But I can tell you that from looking through those numbers, we can pull that, and if you want to send your question to Jill separately, we can definitely let you know. But what I can tell you is that we did have a lot of people who were just signing up for that $10 donation and not sending any emails or anything. And so we are hoping to really sort of motivate our virtual riders to give it a shot with this $100 minimum.
Great. This next question, this will be a great one for our CEO, Doug, to answer. Average rider numbers have increased annually 8 to 10% over the past 3 years. Very correct. Do you anticipate that increase continuing with the new commitments, or do you see it flattening or decreasing? Doug, are you still with us? Doug's calling in remotely. Maybe he's having.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, sorry about that. Great question. We are planning for additional rider growth this year. You know, it's very hard to predict what that growth might look like. We do know that the community has been so strong from a fundraising perspective, and even with the increased commitments, we feel confident that the community will continue to sort of reach new heights. That said, you know, I don't think any of us on the team feel like the 8 to 10% rider growth is necessarily sustainable in the long run. But as was mentioned earlier by Kelly, one of the reasons why we added the second 50-mile route was that is our most popular distance, and the downtown 50 was was overwhelmingly popular in the last few years. So we're hopeful that adding a second 50 will allow more people to participate and have those two choices on that distance. But we do plan to see growth this year, and we're hopeful that that will occur.
Great, thanks, Doug. We've got a question about the Virtual Rider program again. Is the experience going to be different for a Virtual Rider in 2016? Essentially, it's going to be the same as it has in years past. You know, with the addition of the commitment, we are really hoping that this allows our virtual riders who have been so passionate in the past to only expand their passion into, you know, their networks and ask for donations and really become more involved with Pelotonia. You know, hopefully raise above and beyond that $100 commitment with no problems. We do always offer a high roller gift to any virtual riders who have hit that limit in the past. We're certainly looking at new ways to excite and, you know, really show our appreciation for these virtual riders who go above and beyond.
Also in relation to that question, we are working on some new platforms that we hope to roll out in 2017 that will offer an enhanced experience for people that want to participate more on their own time and their own community in a more virtual capacity. So there will be some enhancements, but not in advance of this year's Pelotonia Team Ride.
Next question, do the 130 and 180 mile routes leave from the same destination? Yes. And that's yes, those will both be leaving from Kenyon. This one, can we get a list of captains to discuss team training together? I don't think that's something that we've offered in the past. Obviously our captains are super engaged and so many of you know each other already. You're the best resource to each other. So we'd love to, you know, only strengthen that community. So yeah, that's a wonderful idea and that's something that we'd be happy to implement this year. And we'll have captain events throughout the year. You know, all of you had access to those events in previous years, so look out for some more information coming up on those where you'll be able to meet all your fellow captains. Next question on fund sharing. Can funds be shared that are donated to the Peloton as well as to individuals like spouses, friends, etc.? Yes, so as most of you know, the captains are the only member of the Peloton that can be the ones to share those funds. Who you share them to within your Peloton is at your discretion. And as the FAQs note, I won't read what we wrote on that there, but you know, we hope that you're sharing with people who are engaged and you feel met some sort of commitment that you laid out to your Peloton members. A couple questions about when the new 50 will be starting. I'll hand that one over to Kelly. Please touch on that.
Yeah, so as I said, since we haven't completely nailed down what the start location is, we also haven't nailed down the exact start time. What I would encourage you to do is, to the extent that you have experience with the route, it's on the latter half of the route, you can certainly send thoughts, suggestions to, direct them to Chris Anderson, our Director of Event Operations and Safety. Chris is working through feverishly through all those details right now, and so certainly we'll be open to hearing from all of you if you want to send some thoughts his way. Maybe I can even encourage him to invite to have a call like this or some kind of, you know, forum to talk with some of our more experienced riders if they're interested, you know, our people who've experienced the various times. Again, you know, we understand there's a tender balance there to deciding, you know, who's where, when, and making sure that riders don't go through Granville too early or don't bunch up with people who are coming from behind them. We do want to make sure that we've thought through all that as carefully as we can. So please, you know, the door is open. Share your thoughts and comments through email. If you have thoughts, certainly you can always leave us a message as well if you want to try to engage directly. And Chris will try to stay on top of all the information. And like I said, we'll get it back out to you as soon as we've made some decisions on that starting time piece. We'll get it out to you as soon as we can.
Next question, which is in regards to being able to broadcast all of the great Pelotonia logos and assets to the community, which we love. Our 2016 asset kit will be available on our site starting tomorrow. As always, if you are going to be using any of our assets in any of your promotional materials, we just ask that you send them first to our Director of Marketing, Jillian, Blaine, and all of her contact information is listed there on the website with the kit, just to make sure that they all look brand friendly and you're using Pelotonia. Our logos and the arrows are going the right ways, all that good stuff. And then on the flip side, yard signs, those will be available sometime in the spring. We don't have an exact date on those, but keep an eye out for announcements on when our yard signs and magnets and all that great stuff will be available. Just time for a couple more questions here. Do we have any plans for enhanced volunteer experiences? This year we're going to be making an initiative to really encourage fundraising from our volunteers. It's always been open to them in the past, but of course we think that encouraging that with a separate campaign, a separate initiative is only going to heighten the experience for volunteers when they're just extending their passion and asking their friends and networks for donations. From there, we're going to come up with a certain limit for volunteers where they would receive a gift or something like that for their fundraising efforts. But stay tuned for more details there. A couple questions, and this is something that we get every year, on would we be able to broadcast on our website information about separate events that the Pelotons have in the community. We have a section on our website where you can always submit things that you're selling, events that you have coming up, notice of things like that that can be broadcast to the community. So definitely submit those to us once they get going. A good question here on co-captains. We know that's something that a lot of Pelotons have. Is there a way for them to receive the same captain information at the same time? Yes and no. We don't have the functionality in our website to create a co-captain spot, so they wouldn't be able to get into their account and share the funds or do really any of the other captain capabilities internally on the website. However, if there is a co-captain that you would like to be included on any communication that comes from Pelotonia, we are more than happy to do that. The more the merrier, so just send their name to me, and I'm happy to include them on anything that comes along. Last couple questions here. Do we have to have at least 5 members to have a Peloton? And does that begin as soon as the captain registers to ride? Yes, you need to have at least 5 members to create a Peloton. Those can be riders, virtual riders, and or volunteers. That speaks to the question earlier. If a Peloton captain is a volunteer, you would have to kind of come up with a quick fix for that at the beginning. But you have to have those riders, virtual riders, or volunteers registered first to create the Peloton. So as the captain, you would get their rider ID numbers, punch those in on the back end whenever you're activating the Peloton. And in that first email that I sent to you, there were some instructions on how to reactivate your Peloton, and they're virtually the same if you're creating a new Peloton. Let's see. I think that is everything we have as far as questions. So kind of moving on to next steps when we leave the webinar today. Please follow up with me for any additional questions that you have that maybe you forgot to ask. Of course, like I mentioned, any feedback that you have on this webinar platform is something that we're testing out, and we hope to only use throughout the year to communicate different things to everybody who's involved. Please share any details that you learned today or from my email before with your Peloton members. We want everybody to know, how excited we are for this year and all the great things that are happening. So please share that with them. And then just spread the excitement for registration opening tomorrow. Share it on any social media sites. Tell all your friends. Anything that you can to get the word out. We really want to make tomorrow a hit. Lastly, this is a shot of a graphic from our new campaign. Nobody has seen this yet, so first eyes, we hope you like it. This is kind of the graphic feel for our new campaign. The kind of swirly logo you'll be seeing pop up on our merchandise, throughout the website, and really on the yard signs and all of our branding for this year. We're really excited about it, so hope you are too. And thanks again for joining us today. We loved hearing your questions, and we're so happy that you were able to join us today. We look forward to this year ahead. It's going to be an amazing year, and we hope that you're going to join us again. So again, get me your feedback on anything, questions. We want to hear it all. And have a great day.